Hello everyone, Palites here. Welcome back to Diablo 3. In today's video, I'm going to show off my Veer's Archon build. This is a build that I'm actually really interested in because it gives a lot of defenses to the wizard. Now, this build is all about ramping up your damage. You jump into Archon form, you start shooting things on the far side of the screen, and over time, you start to accumulate stacks of your Archon buff here, which empowers your Archon form. Deal enough damage, ramp this up enough, and you'll be deleting everything on the screen very quickly. Now, I have been struggling to kind of get this build off the ground. I don't know if it's because it's just not in meta right now. I know a lot of people are pushing with Talrashas, and, you know, I'm no exception to that. But it seems like I'm missing a little tiny pieces of components to actually make this build more optimal. But this is what I got so far. So we're using the 6-piece Veer's set. That's gloves, shoulders, helmet, chest piece, pants, and boots. Other than that, we are using the Obsidian Ring of the Zodiac. This is to reduce our cooldowns. Whenever we deal damage with an arcane spender, we are going to be reducing any cooldowns we may have, namely our Archon. We have to get that reduced as fast as possible. The other ring I'm using is a Halo of Karini. We used to use this in the cube on previous builds. This time around, we are using it on our character. This one's ancient with attack speed and cooldown reduction, and that's on purpose. I've kind of prioritized attack speed in a few places where normally I would not for most builds, because I thought maybe getting more stacks of Archon, more attacks would mean getting more stacks, right? And I think it is working, but like I said, I think I'm missing just something to really scale this build up a little bit more. I do have the Fazula's Improbable Chain, and this item was so very important. If you don't have this, I wouldn't even try using this build because getting those initial Archon stacks helps out so much. I am using the S of Johan just as an amulet to have. It had cooldown reduction on it, and also this amulet has the chance of grouping everything up, so I can attack it easier. We're also using the black hole with the supermassive rune on it, so we can suck things up a little bit more. And we're also proccing that black hole without having to cast it using the Etch Sigil, which we kind of use in all of our builds. I'm so glad I got this early on in the season, because it's been huge. Primary weapon is the Starfire. The main reason is because lightning damage is increased by 10% for every 10 yards you are away from your target, up to a maximum of 40%. So when we jump in Archon, we want to keep people at the edge of the screen and just use our right click to deal damage to them, and they're going to die pretty fast. In the cube, we are using the Ingium to get cooldown reduction whenever we kill an elite pack. We need as much cooldown reduction as humanly possible. The Swami, because it gives us our stacks that we earn in Archon for the next 20 seconds, which is pretty huge. And the Mandoled Heal, which increases our lightning damage by 14,000% when we paralyze someone. Paralyzing a target comes from our traits from paralysis. Lightning spells have 15% chance to stun all targets hit for 1.5 seconds. We're using Unstable Anomaly for a cheat death. Evocation for cooldown reduction, and Power Hungry, so we deal 30% additional damage to far away enemies. Now, my greater gems are not optimized, but I am using Bane of the Powerful, Gogok of Swiftness, and Bane of the Trapped. We should be using the greater gem that allows us to deal more damage to far away targets, which would be the Zaystone of Vengeance instead of Bane of the Trapped, and probably a Bane of the Stricken instead of the Bane of the Powerful. But, like I said, still work in progress on this build for sure. I have cleared a level 65 with this, so not too bad, but also not too great. The skills we're using is Magic Weapon with Deflection. This is going to be giving us a shield when we attack things, just helps us stay alive a little bit more. Alternatively, we could, or also in conjunction with this, we could go for Galvanizing Ward, which would give us a pretty hefty shield as well based off of our HP if we wanted to lose a little bit of damage. Arcane Torrent with Static Discharge because we want electricity damage on top of electricity damage on top of electricity damage to proc our ring in the cube. Teleport safe passes for survivability. The Archon rune doesn't matter, and we are using storm armor with Power of the Storm to reduce our Archon costs, so we could just spam this a little bit more. On our gear, as far as I can tell, our most important stat is cooldown reduction, and I'm getting that on our weapon, on our offhand, on both rings, our gloves, and shoulders and amulet. Cooldown reduction, cooldown reduction, cooldown reduction, cooldown reduction, cooldown reduction, cooldown reduction, cooldown reduction. And all of that, plus our passives, are bringing me up to 59.23%. We can roll it slightly higher, 1% more here, 3% more here, but it's gonna be hard. You know, we're just grasping at straws at that point. Let me show you what the build looks like on a 65, because it definitely has potential to scale further than this. So again, like I said, first thing we want to do is just jump into Archon form. That is by far the most important thing, is maintaining Archon form as much as humanly possible. And then I'm just going to be building up stacks on these enemies. And you'll notice once we start to get into the 80s, right? We start to deal a lot of damage here. People just melting in the middle of the screen. But Archon form will inevitably end. And that's when we're using our Obsidian Ring of the Zodiac to try to proc as much damage on enemy targets as we can, so we can jump back into Archon form. I still have the stacks from our previous time in Archon. So we have 100 stacks from our first trip into the Archon form. And then I also have, well, I did have stacks building from this current Archon form, which are gone now. Archon form ends, we immediately try to get back into it by dealing damage with our Arcane Torrent, our right click, and then building up stacks again. So as of right now, I have 212 stacks. This won't last forever though, this will fade. I am uploading a video right now, so if you see me rubber band while teleporting, that's why. It's kind of disorienting, I gotta be honest. So I think I'm at about the right amount of cooldown reduction now, but this has been quite the struggle to get there. And the build simply just doesn't feel good without being able to maintain Archon all of the time. It just doesn't feel worth it at all. But like I said, I think I'm getting to the point where I'm pretty much there. The trick is simply to position yourself so you're hitting as many enemies as possible with your right click while you're in Archon form, using your teleport to get around. And the enemies that do come up to you, you just want to spam your one ability so you are dealing more damage to them. Let's try not to die here, boys. It was actually pretty risky to teleport there, considering I'm probably going to be rubber band back. Now, the issues I have with this build is that you can completely lose all of your momentum if you die. So if you die at all, you lose all of your stacks. You may not have your cooldown reduction, or you may not have the cooldown ready to jump into Archon, which is where all of your damage comes from. So if you don't have Archon and you don't have any stacks, then you basically don't do anything. The reason I'm able to clear content is because we're keeping up a pretty decent pace. And I haven't run into any too major dead ends or anything. We have a good layout. But the second that happens, the second you make a wrong turn, it can totally just, it feels like it just hit the emergency brake in your car. And all of a sudden you're not moving at all anymore. I need to get a little bit further away from him. You'll notice when I drop out of Archon and start channeling our Arcane Torrent, it does build up our Archon back very quickly if I'm able to actually maintain the arcane power to channel it. If I can't maintain the arcane power to channel it, then I'm just kind of standing around waiting for the ability to come back again. And I thought maybe this was an issue with cooldown reduction, which it was, but also having arcane power on crit on your offhand, I think would also help alleviate that a little bit as well. So if you are interested in running this build and you're just a little short on the cooldown reduction, I do think being able to just get arcane power on crit on your offhand will be enough to kind of make the build feel all right, because you could sit, you still have your stacks from Archon, right? Because they extend 20 seconds after the duration, and you could just sit there and kind of channel to stack up the Archon again. And because our Arcane Torrent deals that lightning damage, it still has perfect synergy with our set. I'm grouping everything up just fine. And I mean, it's all right. Let's do it okay. Let me show you what a boss kill looks like, boys. So like right now, I took a bad turn and I risk losing all of my progress because of it. And then when I get up to the next enemy, right, let's say I do lose all of my Archon stacks here, which I only had 65. Yo, I have no idea where the actual path is. This is just up. I only have 65, so that's not a lot of damage. There was our death there. Remember, our Archon stacks are giving us survivability. But I kind of risked losing everything there. If I couldn't find anything to fight in the next 20 seconds, or if I died, we were kind of screwed. The boss is up, though. We want to just keep him at arm's length. Oh, he spawns ads. Oh, bud. Oh, I think you fucked up. I know you can't even see the boss right now. Hey, how's it going? I was talking to you. Archon did end, but we still have 120 stacks, so we could just sit here and channel and be totally fine. So, I mean, the build feels good, and you actually do get a lot of survivability. Oh, I got my first teleporting wand. It's my first one. Cool. Cool. I bet I could use that for something good. That's exciting. Like I said, greater gems are not optimized for this at all. I've slowly been gearing up a bunch of different builds because I want to make a lot of guides. And because of that, my gem expenditure is just all over the place. Like, it's just kind of all over the place. But I do think the build's fun. And I do recommend you guys try it out if you are looking for an alternative to the super delicate, teleport away from everything constantly, Telrashes and Firebirds builds that are so prominent this season. It also, I mean, it's okay for speed farming. The thing is that, I mean, if you're trying to farm great tier 13 rifts, the thing is, if you lose your density, it just all falls apart. It's all about ramping up and then keeping those stacks, and if you can't keep those stacks, then the build is not worth playing. So, I'm not too sure how it fits into the meta. I'm not too sure how it fits into the game. Maybe it doesn't fit into it at all, but I still enjoyed taking the time out of this season to figure out how to make this build work. If you wanted to optimize it a little bit more, you would want to get some lightning damage on your gloves and probably a Hellfire amulet as well. I just kind of was going with whatever I had. But that's going to be our video today, boys. Hope you enjoyed the spotlight of the Veers set. I also never explained what the set piece does, so my bad. I think I did hover over it, though. Pretty fun, like I said. I do enjoy it, and I want to pursue this a little bit more. I'm sure if I wanted to, I could probably run 70s, no problem. But again, it's not that big of a deal. So, take that with a grain of salt. Thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Up next, we're going to be taking a look at the Telrashes pushing build. This is what I use to clear Greater Rift 70 first. And once you clear Greater Rift 70, you are going to be unlocking those Primal Ancients, or a chance to get Primal Ancients. So that is definitely, I mean, 70 is a good goal to shoot for, but it's not that hard to do in the grand scheme of things. There are several builds that are capable of doing it. I don't think I'm going to hit the leaderboard with a Veer set. Let's put it that way. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you all next time.